Hi, everybody, and welcome to Exegetically Speaking, a podcast of the friends and faculty of Wheaton College, Wheaton, Illinois, and the Lanier Theological Library in Houston, Texas. My name is David Capes, and I am the Senior Research Fellow at the Lanier Theological Library and a former dean up there in Wheaton at the School of Biblical and Theological Studies. Our purpose in these podcasts is really very simple. We want to promote the study of biblical languages, Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, so we can read the Bible more faithfully, study it more fully, and not just read it, but to live it. Joining me today on Exegetically Speaking, once again, is Carmen Imes. She's Associate Professor of Old Testament and Program Coordinator for Bible and Theology at Prairie College in Alberta, Canada. Dr. Imes, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So how did you get started in your journey with studying Hebrew? Because you're a Hebrew specialist. How did you get started?
Well, I was an undergrad at Multnomah University. It was then Multnomah Bible College, and I was a Greek major when I started out, and I loved Greek. I didn't have time to fit Hebrew into my program, but while I was there, Dr. Carl Kutz came and began teaching, and I really wanted to take Hebrew from him, and I knew that he'd be a great person to study with. So I waited until after I graduated, and Multnomah would give one free class a year for alumni. And my husband was still finishing up his degree.
Nice.
So I did Hebrew. Thankfully, they counted it by calendar year. So I did the fall semester as my free class for 1 year and the spring semester as my free class for the next year. So I got Hebrew free. One detour was that I was pregnant during the class and gave birth during spring break. So I did not finish the second semester, but I got that far.
You got that far.
And Carl even wrote a birth announcement in Hebrew for the class. So when I didn't show up after spring break, their translation work was to translate this piece about Carmen being in the house of pain and giving birth to a daughter and giving her the name Eliana.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
It was pretty cool.
Very nice. Now, from there,
Yeah.
you went to Wheaton College, was it?
From there, we actually became missionaries in the Philippines, and I promptly forgot all my Hebrew because I was busy learning Tagalog, and I didn't keep up with my Hebrew. And so when I went to seminary at Gordon Conwell a few years later, I thought, I do not want to pay tuition to take Hebrew again when I've already had it, and I should know it. So I studied on my own and then took the tests just to test out of it so that I wouldn't have to pay for the classes again. And on my own, I used Randall Booth's curriculum, the Living Biblical Hebrew, which was great. I loved it. But then I found it didn't give me the vocabulary I needed to make sense of my exegesis classes and the forms. I could read Hebrew, but I couldn't label it the way all my peers could.
Right.
So then I went through Pratico and Van Pelt's Basics of Biblical Hebrew. I just went through it really quickly to try to get the vocabulary around the language so that
the
I
grammar of grammar in a sense.
Yeah, the grammar of grammar.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you started working on your PhD, your focus was the Hebrew Bible.
That's right.
And so that just puts you in up close personal relationship with that.
It did. And so I've had the privilege of working on Hebrew Bible for years now, and I love it. I don't consider myself to be a language guru, but I know enough to investigate and dig and to work my way through translation.
Today we're going to talk about Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 2. It's one of my favorite places in the Old Testament to be able to show students how knowing Hebrew helps, right?
Yes.
Because the translations are all over the map in this
They
particular
are.
place. So give us a little background to this. Ecclesiastes 1, verse 2.
Yeah, so in the NIV, it reads, "Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless, everything is meaningless." And students are often really surprised when they come to this verse in their Bibles because most have not read Ecclesiastes. And when they get here, they think, that doesn't sound very biblical.
All right.
And so I like to use this as a test case for the value of knowing Hebrew. And even if you can't learn the whole language, knowing how to do a word study. Because when you dig into this word meaningless, you find that's actually not what it means. I'm not sure how the translators landed on this.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the NIV in general, but this is one place where I feel like it's not helpful. So various translations, the ESV, NASB, New King James Version use vanity instead. The NET says futile. The Tanakh says futility. Robert Alter says merest breath. Knut Heim suggests mirage. would be a better translation.
Yeah.
So I think at the heart of what's going on here is that the word hevel, which is translated in the NIV as meaningless, is actually a word that means vapor or breath. And it is functioning as a very vivid way of talking about how difficult it is to grasp the meaning of life or to grasp purpose. We as humans are not in a position to fully understand the world or to hang on to things like wealth or power or wisdom or pleasure. We strive after those things and we will never have enough. It reminds me of the song from The Sound of Music, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria?
Yes.
There's a few lines that relate, but how do you catch a cloud and pin it down? That idea of trying to grab a cloud, you can't grab a cloud. It's made of vapor.
Yeah.
And that is what it's like to pursue power or wealth or wisdom or pleasure. Pleasure is like a vapor. It's there. It's real. You can experience it, but you can't keep it.
But it's fleeting, isn't it?
It's fleeting. I think fleeting is maybe my favorite way of rendering it in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe to say something like vapor, utterly fleeting, everything is vapor, or something that captures this sense of transience or maybe enigma. There's a mystery of life. It's not that life doesn't have a meaning. It's that we're not in a position to fully grasp it.
But everybody is awakened to find a heavy fog around in the morning, and you just see how it lifts, and you can't go out. And there's another expression here somewhere, a little bit later in the chapter, where it talks about catching the wind or something to that effect.
Grasping chasing the wind or grasping the wind is a way that the teacher in this book is consistently showing what humans do. We chase and chase and chase after things. We're so driven, especially in the West, especially in the United States. There's such a strong drive for achievement and success, but we're never satisfied. It's like chasing after the wind. Yeah. So the teacher, I would say that the message of the book is don't work for what you can get as a result. Work for the joy of working. Find joy in the journey or joy in the process.
Joy in it. So how do you translate it one more time? I think you gave us that translation, but
yeah, something like fleeting or vaporous. I actually like what Knut Heim does with mirage. You know, if you could say mirage, utterly. The problem is you can't turn mirage into an adjective very easily or an adverb. Yeah. So fleeting, something like that.
There's a texture and a meaning in the Hebrew that is just very hard to grasp in English a lot of times because we don't have the right words. We don't have the right expressions and sometimes it's not just a word that you need to stack a few words together to get at the idea. Well, you can't just say it means meaningless or vanity.
No,
or
because it's not consistently a negative word. This word occurs something like between 30 and 40 times in the book of Ecclesiastes. And if you line those all up next to each other, it's not always giving a negative judgment. It's fleeting is a more value neutral way of designating it. But maybe the best thing would be to just go back to the metaphor. Vapor, utterly vaporous, everything is vapor.
Yeah. That's exactly what the Hebrew means, right?
Right. So why don't we keep that?
A good friend of mine is a rabbi. He loves this book. He says it's his favorite book in the Bible because he reads it in Hebrew and he doesn't read it in an English translation. Dr. Imes, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Silvio Vasquez, Rebecca Larson, and Krista Sanchez for helping us to produce this podcast. Thanks as well to Phil Keggy for our music. If you want to study biblical languages, the best place you could do that is Wheaton College. They have an amazing program. One of the best I've ever seen, whether you want to be a graduate or an undergraduate student. So go to the website, www.wheaton.edu, and look for modern and classical languages. Get started today. If you have questions or comments about this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Contact us at exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. That's exegetically.speaking@wheaton.edu. Thanks for listening.